Ahoy shipmates, welcome back to Ancient Mysteries, where we hoist the sails of curiosity and navigate the tempestuous waters of history. Today we are setting our compasses for uncharted territory as we unearth the tales of 7 of the most notorious and, dare I say, business-savvy pirates to ever sail the 7 seas. Number 1. Blackbeard. Blackbeard, or as he was known to his mom and tax collectors, Edward Teach. This man didn't just plunder, he put on a full-on Broadway show while doing it. Seriously, he'd light fuses in his beard before battle, making him look like an early prototype of a Marvel villain. Imagine staring down a guy who's essentially a human fireworks display. You hand over your gold and maybe even your snacks pretty quickly. But Blackbeard wasn't just a human jack-o'-lantern, he had a mind for strategy. His ship, the Queen Anne's Revenge, had more firepower than a 4th of July celebration. He made the coastal waters of America his personal playground, or shall we say, loot box. And when the British finally caught up with him, well, let's just say it took quite a few tries to get him down. It's like trying to defeat the final boss in a video game, but the boss had the cheat codes. Reports say he was shot 5 times and slashed about 20 times before he finally called it quits. Number 2. Bartholomew Roberts. Now, if piracy had a yearbook, Bartholomew Roberts would be voted most likely to succeed. And for good reason. Known as Black Bart, this Welsh pirate seized over 400 ships during his career, a record that puts even the most successful Silicon Valley entrepreneurs to shame. Black Bart was the kind of guy who came to the pirate game late but made up for lost time with pure zeal. Originally a third mate on a slave ship, he found his true calling when pirates captured his vessel. Within 6 weeks, he was elected captain. But don't mistake him for just another thug with a sword. Roberts was a man of principle, pirate principles, but principles nonetheless. He was known for his pirate code, a set of rules for his crew that basically boiled down to, let's be organized while we pillage and plunder, shall we? A stickler for discipline, he even outlawed drinking on his ship, well, except for special occasions because even pirates need happy hour. As for his downfall, well, like any high-performing individual, Black Bart finally met his match in the form of a British naval cannonball. But his legacy is nothing short of legendary. He set the gold standard for what it meant to be a successful pirate, without ever having to light his beard on fire for attention. Number 3. Calico Jack. Calico Jack, or as history buffs might know him, John Rackham. If you're wondering why he's called Calico, it's not because he had a fascination with cats or quilting. Nope, the name refers to the cheap, colorful fabric he often wore. Calico Jack was what you might call a pirate of opportunity. He seized his ship from Charles Vane, a pirate notorious for being a bit too gunshot. Jack basically said, "You want to attack that French ship? Hold my grog," and proceeded to take control. Let's just say he was never indecisive when it came to boarding and looting. But Calico Jack is perhaps most famous for his relationships with Anne Bonny and Mary Read, 2 of the most fearsome female pirates of all time. If piracy were a rom-com, this would be a love triangle worthy of a Netflix special. But let's be honest, nothing screams relationship goals like plundering ships together. In the end, Calico Jack was captured and hanged, but not before giving us the iconic Jolly Roger flag we all associate with piracy. So the next time you see that flag on a kid's lunchbox or in a Hollywood movie, just remember, it's Calico Jack's lasting contribution to pop culture, aside from making calico fabric almost cool. Number 4. Samuel Bellamy. Samuel Bellamy, or as he was famously known, Black Sam. Why Black Sam, you ask? Was it because he was a mysterious, dark, cloaked figure? Nope, he just didn't like wearing a wig like most gentlemen of his era. Instead, he chose to flaunt his long black locks, making him probably the original pirate hipster. You might say Bellamy was the Robin Hood of the sea, a title he probably would have put on his LinkedIn if such a thing existed back then. This guy was all about equal wealth distribution, at least among his crew. His democratic approach was revolutionary. He and his crew even voted on major decisions. Imagine that, a democratic pirate ship. Bellamy is best known for capturing the Whydah Galley, a slave ship turned treasure ship. After its capture, the Whydah became Bellamy's flagship, and oh boy did it live up its reputation. It's estimated to have carried the equivalent of 120 million in today's money. Sadly, like many overnight successes, Bellamy's high-flying life was short-lived. The Whydah sank in a storm off Cape Cod, and Bellamy went down with it. But his legend lives on. The Whydah's wreck was eventually discovered in 1984, and it remains the only verified pirate shipwreck ever recovered. Number 5. Grace O'Malley. Grace O'Malley was Ireland's pirate queen. If you ever thought piracy was a boys' club, then prepare to have your ship rocked. Grace O'Malley was Ireland's pirate queen. She was born into a seafaring family, so you could say she had salt water in her veins. She took to piracy like duck to water, or in this case, like a pirate to rum. When her husband was killed, did she mourn in widow's weeds? No, she took over his fleet and expanded her own piratical empire. Grace was so fearless, she even had a meeting with Queen Elizabeth I. That's right, 2 queens in one room, no word on whether they discussed the challenges of ruling while rocking a corset. But legend has it that Grace refused to bow to Elizabeth because she didn't recognize her as the Queen of Ireland. Imagine walking into someone's house and telling them you won't take off your shoes because you don't like their wallpaper. It's that level of audacity. In the end, Grace O'Malley went down in history as a fearsome pirate, a savvy businesswoman, and a rebel who didn't let society dictate her role. She was a 16th century trailblazer who would have probably had a killer social media following today. Number 6. William Kidd. William Kidd the pirate was so controversial he made us question what piracy even meant. Seriously, this guy's career was filled with more plot twists than a telenovela. Was he a privateer, a pirate, a scapegoat? Let's just say if he was alive today, he'd be the subject of at least 3 different true crime documentaries. You see, Kidd started off as a respectable sea captain. He was even hired to protect English ships from pirates. But let's be real, guarding treasure is way less fun than stealing it, am I right? So in a twist of irony, Kidd turned to piracy. It's pretty much like hiring a security guard who ended up robbing your house. But here's the kicker, Kidd always insisted he was innocent, and that he'd been framed. He even left treasure buried somewhere as quote-unquote evidence to clear his name. Yep, this guy was so ahead of his time, he invented the first ever treasure hunt defense strategy. Unfortunately for Kidd, the courts weren't buying what he was selling. He was hanged not once but twice. The first rope broke. It's as if even the universe couldn't make up its mind about him. Finally, number 7, Chung Ai-saw. Where do we even start with this powerhouse? If piracy had a Fortune 500 list, she'd be the CEO. Seriously, this woman commanded a fleet of more than 1,800 ships and 80,000 pirates. Imagine trying to organize a Zoom call with that many people. Originally a Cantonese prostitute, Chung Ai-saw married a pirate, Chung Ai, and said, "You know what? 2 heads are better than 1," and joined forces. When her husband died, did she retire into the sunset? Nope. She took over and expanded the business. But get this, she ran her fleet with an iron fist and a well-structured code of laws. Stealing from the communal treasure, beheading. Disobeying orders, beheading. Showing disrespect to a female pirate, you guessed it, beheading. She was a strict HR department, judge, and executioner all rolled into one. Chung Ai-saw's regime ended not with capture or death, but with retirement. Yep, she negotiated a deal with the Chinese government for herself and her fleet and spent the rest of her days running a gambling house. Because when you've dominated the high seas, what's left to do but roll the dice on land? And that, my swashbuckling friends, concludes our thrilling voyage through the Golden Age of Piracy. From beards on fire to queens of the sea, these pirates prove that anyone can make it big in the buccaneering business. So until our next intriguing tale of history and mystery with a touch of comedy, stay curious, everybody.